So welcome everybody to today's interview, which I'm conducting in the frame of our CESI Talks series, which is part of a bigger project we are organizing, we're implementing with the financial support of the European Parliament, which aims at, how could I say, raising awareness for citizens that in 2024, there will be European elections. And today, I particularly honor and joy to have with me Elisabeth Kuiper. Elisabeth is Associate Director and Head of the Social Europe and Wellbeing Program at the EPC at the European Policy Center. Elisabeth, welcome.
Thank you so much, Klaus. Thanks for having me.
Elisabeth, you have been working a lot with the EPC's Wellbeing Program. What are the objectives of this program? If we think also at the upcoming summer days, we'll speak a little bit about that later on. How can we ensure the well-being of citizens during the green and digital transition?
Well, thanks for that question, Klaus. I think it really brings us at the heart of a lot of the issues that we're at the European Policy Center dealing with today. And I think it's important to mention that the European Policy Center is really one of the European Brussels-based think tanks, which really is focusing on the major challenging that Europe is facing today. Because we really have 6 programs stemming from Europe's position in the world to the program that I'm heading, which is the Social Europe and Wellbeing Program. And I think it's really important because even though I think a lot of people feel that Europe's position is defined by the current geopolitical challenges it faces, I think it's as much defined by the social challenges it faces. Because it's true that we're going through a geopolitical transition leading to economic transition, energy dependencies, and therefore the green transition, which already, of course, was on the agenda of the current European Commission when they started in 2019. But I think due to COVID-19, and also due to the Russian invasion in Ukraine, I think it's even more important than it already was. But I think you can only be strong externally if you're strong internally, and therefore a Europe that has strong social policies and social policies that work for people, that are not just a goal in itself. That is something which is really important for us. So that's also why indeed in the program I'm leading with colleagues involved, we're working on projects to do with the economy of well-being, which is also very much focusing on defining GDP in a different way, because we're so used to focusing on economic growth in a certain relatively focused way, in a definition that we're all used to. But I think it's really important to look at it in a much more inclusive way, to think also about the quality of life, the quality of nature. And in that respect, for us, that's really important, apart from, of course, focusing on labor policies, the labor market, because I think especially in an aging society with changing demographics, it's really important also to think about the workforce issues we face, not to speak about the challenges of the digital transition. I think, a topic that keeps a lot of people awake at night these days is artificial intelligence. We read all these articles about the great promises, but I think it's equally very scaring and one of the big challenges of the 21st century, also in terms of the social impact. So that's just in a nutshell what we do in the program Social Europe and Wellbeing at the European Policy Center.
But just so for you, and I think for many others, I mean, well-being is not only about the people, but it's also some kind of model which stands for the European Union, which somehow also makes the European Union, how could I say, more competitive, more attractive by the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's a very good take on it, because it's true that at the end of the day, it's also very much about Europe's position in the world, and even about Europe's competitiveness, if you want, where indeed as Europe, as the European Union, we need to have very strong social standards also to stand out compared to other parts of the world where that's less the case. So this is certainly not just about indeed well-being in a narrow sense, but it's really about that whole notion, which also to do with strategic autonomy, which is very much on the fore since COVID-19, and the fact that we all witness the unwanted dependencies on other parts of the world. And again, I think also there the social structure comes in, and the need to have high social standards.
We spoke earlier about the summer days. They will take place from June 29 till June 30th. What are your expectations? You will be one of the keynote speakers. Also speaking of well-being, what are you expecting from these summer days?
Well, what I'm hoping for is that everyone comes up with very clear policy asks, because, I mean, the summer days are always great. I think you have great momentum just before the summer break. It's always a really important place to come together as stakeholders. But I think especially this year, it's a very important moment in time, just 1 year before the European elections of 24. And in that respect, I think if everyone comes with very clear policy asks, the institutions are already in listening mode. And we need to be really clear together as a community, as the community of stakeholders that want to create a more social Europe, perhaps even want to revamp social Europe. Because again, also due to politics at European level, where sometimes there are more skeptical movements about what Europe can do, about what Europe should do, and I think we should not let that skepticism prevail, but I think we should have a very strong ask for what the next European Commission and the next mandate should focus on. So I really hope that everyone come prepared.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Also, you mentioned it, next year election. What do you think it's important for citizens to go and vote? I mean, we know that the European elections, very few are, or let's say, not many enough are aware of the upcoming elections, European elections, and for too many, it is simply too far away and too unimportant. What would you say to that?
Well, it's true that last week the Eurobarometer got presented, and it's on one hand interesting to see that in some countries the awareness of the European elections has increased a little bit. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement because we also equally saw that in a lot of countries people are not that aware. But what really I thought was perhaps more important is that the skepticism about how democracy work and how they deliver for people really decreased. So that means that again, people are less confident in how democracies work. And in that respect, for me, the European elections are very important when it comes indeed to democracy. I think the risk that perhaps we'll see and we'll witness a rise of illiberal parties, I think is even higher. I think at the beginning of the current mandate, there were already doubts about the stability of the current agreements and about the current coalitions. But I think that will only increase towards the next mandate. So again, we will see perhaps less holistic policy making. And that is something, of course, in the first place, to witness how that will develop, but also perhaps to be worried about and to come up with strong answers.
Elisabeth, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you very soon at the summer days. All the best to you and the European Policy Center, and see you soon. Bye.
Thank you so much, Klaus. Thanks for having me and looking forward to the summer days.